Hey guys, what's up? It's been a little while. Usually when I do videos like this, I'm either vlogging or I'm doing critiques of films, so this one's gonna be a little unusual. This is a no defense video of a hypothetical film, but as we're seeing in the news all the time, where the structure, if you want to call it, of a supposed hypothetical in the process movie that will eventually happen. And what I mean by that is, of all the coverage of one man, eventually this is going to become a documentary. Or it's going to be the next Oliver Stone film. Or it's going to be a future filmmaker that's going to be tackling this subject. So, without further ado, I'm going to be talking about a guy who thinks he's a movie star, wishes he was a movie star, but does not have the talent of a movie star, and yet proceeds to tell everybody that he is of that caliber. And when I mean caliber, I mean somebody who actually is good on camera, somebody who actually is articulate on camera, somebody who actually has more emotions than a teaspoon, as Hermione Granger would put it. And that person I'm talking about is the Prez, fake Prez, as a lot of millennials call him, Donald Trump. So I give you no defense for Donald Trump if he were a movie. So let's begin with something that might not be obvious to people. Donald Trump has tried to be an actor. He appeared in a film where he gave this kind of performance.
So I beat the situation, but not you.
That's what you did.
You're too pretty to be bad.
You noticed.
He was an emoji before emoji were popular. Now, I think trying to say that he was doing his best is a moot point, because he won a Golden Raspberry, which is considered the worst acting performance of the year, and Donald Trump has tried his best to still remain in the spotlight as he craved it, because he appeared for most millennials as a random guy who shows up in the hallway to the lobby of the Plaza Hotel in Home Alone 2 Lost in New York.
Excuse me, where's the lobby?
Down the hall and to the left.
Thanks.
That scene has sometimes been edited out, according to what the Canadian Television Board was trying to do to shorten the runtime on a particular network. So, to say that Donald Trump has had some luck there is non-existent. He's mostly appeared in commercials and in infomercials, Trump University ads, and occasionally in WWF routines, let's call them. Back when the WWF was the World Wrestling Federation, before a little thing called the World Wildlife Fund wrestled it to the ground. So I'm not going to talk about the obvious stuff here, like the fact that his organization has filed Chapter 11 bankruptcies, his casinos have been run to the ground because of Trump getting bored, essentially, something that arguably he's doing with the United States. Trump steaks, Trump University, Trump vitamins where they require your pee. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. What I'm talking about here is, if they're going to make a movie about this guy, they're going to need a 3-act structure that somehow details this guy's presidency, for better or worse, and a lot worse. What you probably have to start with the first act is something like the birtherism movement that he started in Obama's presidency, because that's the beginning of Trump making enough of a splash on social media where people are starting to notice Trump's very obvious racist remarks in order to get attention. The second act is probably something like the presidency, the 4 years, whatever you're going to throw in there. Obviously, we're going to talk about the coronavirus. That's his inciting incident that he failed to in any way take seriously. And the third act is probably, rather interestingly, whatever's going to happen after his presidency. If that's going to be 20 years from now, God forbid, or it's going to be soon, we hope, that's going to be also very interesting, because it's going to be the fallout of what this guy has done to himself. And what I mean by that is, the most interesting thing about all the conflict in such a story, in such a script, would pertain to Donald Trump's hubris and how his craving for just unbridled attention has caused so much investigation into every single criminal, two-faced, double-dealing, and backstabbing effort he has done towards the American people, towards immigrants, towards the military, what have you. Trump has probably insulted every kind of group he can in this country, except his base, which he knows like him. That being said, Donald Trump is completely terrified of trying to take a stance on anything that would be a subject that most people would say, of course, I want to denounce hate. Of course, I want to denounce a specific group that wants to cause harm. So this leads us to talk about the cult that Trump has created. His base is basically a cult of personality, and that's, again, going back to the movie star thing. He wants a bunch of fans that will like him no matter what. If his fans are white supremacists, he's not going to denounce that. He likes those guys because they like him. If they don't like Donald Trump, then Donald Trump doesn't need to pretend that he likes them back. He's not going to acknowledge their existence. He once suggested that Democrats weren't Americans. So the people who probably wouldn't like this movie are probably his base, because you're trying to show the facts, and the base seems to be more interested in a colored version of what's going on. They want something that fits their perspective, and unfortunately in psychology, that's either called cognitive bias or a version of cognitive dissonance, because if you keep going through life thinking that, no, I don't want to pay attention to all this other information, all this other data, I only want what fits my perspective, my agenda, then you're obviously not interested in the truth. You're only interested in what you want to hear, what you want to see, what you want to read, what you want others to hear, read, see. And that's not a healthy way to live. You're not going to be successful telling everybody what you think should be. And unfortunately, Donald Trump has mostly succeeded like that. Now, that being said, there's always going to be something that's not going to go according to Donald Trump's plan. Because as much as he wants to try to will something into existence, everybody can fight him on that. Because you're not going to have any conflict or any fight of that nature on facts, no fight on data, if people can corroborate your data and say, yeah, that's what actually happened. If you're going to be that guy that says, don't look at this, look over here, you're less a leader and more of a charlatan, more of a con artist. You're a bad illusionist that is trying to get people to not look at the strings attached. That is the very definition of a snake oil salesman. The snake oil salesman says, I want to regrow your hair, but it's not doing anything. It's just literally piss in a bottle. Makes you wonder about a couple things involving certain follicles on his head. So if we're going to try to guess what a good movie about Donald Trump is going to be, we'll probably need to have these specific things understood. One of the things that people probably think we'll know a little bit more in the future is his tax returns, and everything we know about his tax returns so far says that he's only paid $750 in taxes in over a few year period, and that he currently owns somewhere around the ballpark of $450 million to what appears to be other nations. That's as of this day. So the problem is most of the characters would have to just discuss it. It's something that's a little bit harder to make cinematic. You'd have to show papers and graphs and news reports that show nice little graphics, and that's not as cinematic. But we'll probably find out more about it just by characters saying it. What's a lot more cinematic is talking about his affair with Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal, and literally trying to get them to shut up with hush money. That's more cinematic. The fact that Donald Trump has had cronies go to Ukraine to dig up dirt on Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden, a guy, Hunter, that we've barely even seen in the media, but more people on the right are trying to talk about. You'll probably see that in a film. However, it won't be a provocative sequence of events because it turned out to be something that wasn't entirely true. It was just a bunch of guys trying to find dirt like they were a bunch of New Jersey mobsters. I want you to find something on this guy. I don't know what it is, but it's gonna be that guy. Make it about this guy going after that guy. So anybody would have to write this script would probably have to get very drunk. I'm looking at you, John Carpenter, writing Halloween 2. I love you, John Carpenter. So after the birtherism of Act 1, we're probably going to talk about all the little lovable, adorable, cute things he did as president. Of course, one of the most cinematic things that could possibly happen in Act 2 of the Presidency also involves events like his impeachment. We're going to talk about the fact that everybody had a lot more evidence on him trying to break the law in order to get political dirt on his opponent. It's actually kind of funny because a lot of people assumed that Bernie Sanders was going to be his main opponent, and he was trying to get Joe Biden out of the way, but then it turned out that Joe Biden became the nominee, and every single attack that Trump tried to use as the candidates were starting to show up were meant for Bernie Sanders, and then he just filled in the blank when it came to Joe Biden getting the nomination anyway. How about the separation of migrant children? We now know that 545 children can't find their parents. What about Donald Trump saying it was okay for Russia to meddle in our election? How about that time Donald Trump said it was okay to beat somebody up? How about that time Donald Trump said he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and not lose any votes? How about that time Donald Trump commented on Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson's relationship? That's for the first act. So we don't really know what would go into a third act of such a story, but for the most part, it's going to be about how his hubris worked against him. Because enough people are investigating this man that it's going to bounce back. It happened to Richard Nixon, it happened to Bill Clinton. There's going to be enough of a fallout where it's inevitable for Trump to face some legal action. I don't think this guy can even pardon himself. A president has never done such a thing, and it would require a judicial system to help him with that. Ooh. So you can kind of see where things are heading if Trump and his enablers get their way. This is all starting to sound like a mini-series to me. So here comes the fun part. What would it mean if this was a bad movie? And what I mean is that let's just have footage of Donald Trump looking like a movie star. We can deep fake his face onto a body of a body double in the future and just use audio from everything he said, and we'll edit it together in such a way where we can understand how this guy thinks, and yet we are kind of getting every single non sequitur that comes out of his mouth. Because let's face it, the man is full of non sequiturs. So it probably would be something like, if you wanted it to be at least moderately entertaining, maybe make it moderately appealing to his base, the first part of it would have to go full Kim Jong-un. We are going to make it a huge propaganda thing. So he gets all the votes, and 3 million people voted illegally, and then he talks about the Sea of Love, and talks about how the United States has been going down the tubes ever since somebody who wasn't white became president. Oh yeah, the white supremacists are gonna love that part. And then, for the next 4 years, nothing happens but Donald Trump entertaining everybody with just great stories and funny jokes, because he's always just wanted to be a stand-up comedian. And he's a tough guy. He could take those tough questions. Oh no, he can't take the tough questions? You caught him at the wrong time? He was having an off day in his stand-up routine? Oh, those hecklers, those bad hecklers. Stop being so mean to Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the hero. He's going out and saving... Who is he saving exactly?
Excuse me.
I know, he's saving billionaires, the people he wants to be, because deep down, he just wants everybody to know how important he is. He's as important as Abraham Lincoln. He's as important as Jesus. He's as important as Vladimir Putin. He's as important as Benito Mussolini. Huh. Maybe reincarnation is a thing. But it's alright, he's going to be president, he's never going to die, therefore he'll be president no matter what. His children will just kind of take up the slack when he's 500 years old and he's just this really orange-looking skeleton, because he's just baking into the sun and looking into eclipse. He's okay, don't worry about him, because he's got $10,000 haircuts. They offer as a shade to him. You know, I have to say, I feel really sorry for the editors that are going to have to put this all together, because they're going to have to try to figure out, is this a tragic drama or is this a comedy? Because you can't really do both when you're talking about this guy, unless you're being directed by Edward D. Wood Jr. So if you're going to go the drama route, you're probably going to have to focus on all the pain and suffering this guy's caused. Whether it is all the employees he's let down, whether it's all the migrants that he's separated, whether it's all the people he's trying to kick off healthcare, whether it's all the people that he has completely ignored. 220,000 people he let die on his watch. Or it's all the women that he's sexually harassed. Or it's the handicapped people that he's mocked. Or maybe it's his tailor. Because obviously anybody who wears a suit like this must have a blind tailor, or his dance instructor. So if you're going to make it a comedy, you'd have to focus on the aforementioned non sequiturs, but also the times he tried to form a sentence and then got bored with the sentence and tried to change the subject.
That's all I hear. Turn on television. COVID, 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 COVID. A plane goes down. 500 people dead. They don't talk about it. COVID, COVID, COVID. COVID! COVID! Please don't go and vote. COVID. Please do not, under any circumstance, you cannot go out and vote. 4 months. They brought it down from like, because that's the fake news. They're fake. The cases are up, but listen to this. They all talk about cases. You don't see death, death. Cases, cases. You know why we have cases? Because we test so much. And in many ways, it's good. And in many ways, it's foolish, okay? In many ways, it's very foolish. No, he's fine. They have a very strong immune system. 99.9 something, right? 99.9. Go back to school, North Carolina. Go back to school.
So for comedy purposes, I think we should also talk about the things that Donald Trump wishes he could be, but he can't be. The things that his base thinks he is, and can never be. Because as much as Donald Trump, again, tries to will this into existence, there's always going to be somebody better. And we're going to get to that. So if this was a movie, my screenwriting teacher once taught us the boo yes theory. What that essentially means is every scene has to have kind of an improv quality to it. In improv, we call that yes and. We keep the scene going, yes and. In screenwriting, it's something like boo, yes, but, henceforth. I'll try to do my best showing you the yeses that he has accomplished in his life, and as well as the boos. Yes, Donald Trump is tall. Boo, Donald Trump stole the Starfleet logo from Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek. He slapped it on the Space Force logo and pretended that he came up with this. Yes, Donald Trump has produced tall children. Boo, you thought putting bleach into somebody's body would actually help. I can't find a yay for that at all. Yay, you like chicken. Boo, you seem to only like fried food. Do you realize that this doctor of yours, your doctor's note, as if you were cutting gym class, yay, you're on steroids, and you think you're as strong as Superman and as healthy as those guys you fake fought. Boo, you didn't actually fight them, and you didn't actually fight the coronavirus on your own. That took a talented team of doctors, who you're now insulting. Yay. You're trying to drink a glass of water with one hand. Boo, you try holding a glass of water with two hands most of the time. Yay, your family somehow took the name Drumpf because you thought it sounded dumb, and you settled on the name Trump because it was meaner. I think it's tied with boo. Can we point out Trump's mishandling of not the obvious issues, but his handling of quotes? He seems to not realize that quotes don't create emphasis, but infer typically sarcasm. I mean, even Dr. Evil got it half right, because he's half evil, half doctor. And they gotta have a sense of humor. But you can't use quotes like this. Use asterisks, man. Boo, you have the articulation of a first-week acting student. An acting student, at the very least, would have tried to keep on the subject and keep it going. Yes. You like trucks. Boo, you don't know how to drive a truck. Yay, Donald Trump built a wall. Boo, Donald Trump only built 3 or 4 miles of wall, and it fell over into Mexico, who didn't pay for it. You know who's paying for it? The military and taxpayers, like us, who pay more than $750. Yay, you've got supporters. Boo, you turn on your supporters when they realize what a jackass you are. Yay, you think your daughter is beautiful. Boo, I'm not going to go anywhere with that. No. Yay, you say you like blacks. Boo, they don't believe you. Yay, he brought attention to autographs, signed in Sharpie because any legitimate Jaws fan knows that Robert Shaw autographs in Sharpie on eBay are a dangerous commodity. Side note, any self-respecting Jaws fan knows that Robert Shaw did not sign autographs in Sharpie. Sharpies didn't exist in the mid-1970s. Boo. Any Sharpie enhanced weather map is also a fraudulent auction on eBay. Watch out. Yay, you let Dr. Fauci do his job. A little bit. Boo, you're not letting Dr. Fauci do his job. Yay, your tax cuts made us wonder during the pandemic if the rich are benefiting from all of this. Yay, you paid attention to conspiracy theories so that now we're worried about conspiracy theorists and how dangerous they are. Boo, you listened to conspiracy theories. Yay, Trump is drawing attention to the importance of grammar because of his constant repetition of specific words like strongly, unfairly, tremendous, and fake. 4 words that immediately invoke a difficult night in the bedroom, especially fake. Boo, you're not Gene Roddenberry. You will never be a guy who unites the people. Gene Roddenberry had a TV show where he envisioned a diverse group of people working together, collaborating. You're not Gene Roddenberry. Boo, you're not Martin Luther King. That man's legacy will always be enshrined as a beacon of hope, unity, and a proud future. So this in turn leads me to my overall point on why we need to vote Trump out of office. Not only because we need the break from this 4 years of nonsense.
The metrics right here. That's my metrics. That's all I can do.
Of course, in all of Trump's pathological stretching of the truth, he seems to also have a short-term memory loss problem, because if he was keeping track of his lies, wouldn't he be also aware that video playback would be something they could hold him account to? I guess he doesn't watch enough sports, because if he did, he would remember this great baseball highlight. You're not even President Calvin Cool Cow Coolidge. That guy is always what the young peeps be talking about. Martin Van Buren, a fellow Dutchman like myself, is the reason the word okay emerged from old Kinderhook, and he's just okay. But Trump is exactly what the word means. But if I were to conclude Donald Trump's biggest problem, it is this. It's the ultimate boo. Donald Trump thinks no one is better than him. Now, I was leading to that earlier. What I mean by that is, and it gives me a headache thinking about this, Donald Trump somehow, when he looks at himself in the mirror, thinks he's the most interesting person in existence. He's compared himself, like I said, to somebody just slightly second to Jesus, slightly second Abraham Lincoln. For a man that thinks he's being disrespected and misjudged and treated harshly all the time, you have to ask yourself, why do you think that is happening? For anybody with that victimhood complex, what goes around comes around. If you're going to constantly badger people, if you're going to undermine people's policies, if you're going to say one thing and then do something completely different, there's an old sound editing term. It goes garbage in, garbage out. Basically, like that wonderful metaphorical expression, no matter how much you polish a piece of shit, it's still a piece of shit. No matter how much garnish, spices, how much you dip that thing in some kind of buttery gold, it's still a piece of shit. So if he thinks that he's being disrespected and that he's a victim, well, boo-hoo. Get something done. Take the job seriously. Stop making this a reality TV show, and then maybe people will give you a little bit more respect. You can't even accept that George W. Bush and Barack Obama probably got something done in a little bit of a better way than you do, because you can't accept that they maybe are better presidents than you. And that's saying a lot, because the concept of somebody being better than you is supposed to humble us all. When we're kids and realize that that kid is a better runner, that kid is a better singer, that kid is a better dancer, and oh boy, there are better dancers than you. There are better people walking down ramps than you. And if you don't accept that somebody after you're long gone is going to be better at these jobs than you are, then you are incapable of learning. You are adverse to learning. The guy who's running against you, all the people that ran against you, all the people that have tried to give you constructive criticism or just flat out criticized you, are better at understanding the jobs than you have. And that goes all the way from real estate, all the way to whatever you call this presidency. They have a better understanding because they have the ability to learn from their mistakes. If someone is going to try to encourage you to think of things a little bit differently, into a better direction, you should listen to them, because that is the way to learn from your mistakes and to become a far better effective leader, businessman, and father. So if you're making a film where you're going to try to compare yourself to such despots as Putin and Kim and Prince MBS, you're going to have scenes where these guys are together. Now, do you make these guys look more serious than you? That's an interesting question, because if you want to be honest, you're going to probably have to show how dangerous these men are and how silly you look next to them. In spite of the fact that you have been a cruel and dangerous idiot, but somehow you make all these guys look slightly better than you, which is why you think they are better than you. Why you think no one is better than yourself except these people that you admire. So in conclusion, if one were to make a movie about this, or a miniseries, or a documentary, or a comic book, or an audiobook, we all learn for the better. It makes us better people. If he really wants to be a better person, he has to understand that anybody can be better than him. But don't take it from me. Just learn from him, from his own family, specifically his niece in one of my favorite interviews.
One of the greatest scams in recent political history was that getting people to believe that he cared about working people. This is beyond disgraceful. The people who work in the White House, many have been there for decades. You know, they do their part to serve their country. These are dignified, dedicated, working people, and he doesn't care about them. People need to get this through their heads. Donald doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about the American worker. He doesn't care about the people closest to him. So there can't be any pretense anymore. You know, I saw that in the entire scene at Walter Reed in the drive-by and the balcony where he took off that mask as if he were a tough guy, which he's not. First of all, it was a perfect distillation of this administration. It's Donald confronting his abysmal weakness by pretending he's strong. It's the people around him continuing to fail to rein him in, either because they don't want to risk anything or they just don't care. And Donald showing his complete disregard for anybody else's safety because he's so selfish. It's got to stop. I don't know what's going on with the Republican Party, but I've said this before and I will continue to say it. At this point, Donald is knowingly and willfully getting people in this country sick, and many of them are dying. There's no other way to put it, but it's mass murder because he knows what could be done to stop it, and he's continuing to do nothing, and he's making it worse every single day through his lies and his behaviors.
Ah, normies. We miss you. And VidCon, and Comic-Con, and NAB, and...